most people don't seem to be too excited about what the future holds. You have these robotics and the data centers going up. People are worried about their jobs, et cetera, right? And I tell you what, I joined the union back in 2009, and I was always taught that in a union, it's a brotherhood, and you take care of each other, and you get that bread, you set the standard for the middle class, et cetera, right? But now what I see is that, like, all these union members were so busy working, I don't think that we're really realizing exactly what we're building here. Like, we have all these data centers going in on whose accord. Like, the American people obviously don't want this. And the government is pushing it, just like EVs. They're all pushing it, right? And we're just building these plants. And I tell you what, these data centers, they're not just a building and then something you just build and that's it. No, these data centers are there to accumulate our information, our data. And data is more valuable than oil. Data is how they train AI. And so what we're doing is we're essentially building the infrastructure of our future in prisons for our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandchildren, and generations to follow. So at what point do we have the discussion that maybe we shouldn't be building these things? And if we are going to build them, what do we really get? Because just getting a 3% raise on a year after year basis, is that really enough to be selling our country out in the future for? You see what I'm saying here? And look, I'm not here to knock the tradesmen. That's not what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to say is, like, we work a lot of hours, right? 5, 6, 7 days a week, 8, 10, 12 hours a day plus. And we just want to go home and kiss our kids goodnight and, like, that's it, right? But what's happening here is, like, we need to, like, stop looking at the bolt that we're trying to thread and the bead we're trying to weld and look up and say, what are we actually building here? Not just the building, but the buildings across the entire nation here. Is this good for America? And if it is good for America, what do we do to set the standard for the middle class? We used to be the strong arm of America, of the people, and we need to get back to that, right? So these data centers are being built by these institutions that did the exact opposite of doing good for Americans. They censored us. They took everything from us and gave us nothing. Right? So now we're building the future so they could actually imprison us with our own data. And our Congress is doing nothing to make sure that the American people are actually owning their own data. And yet they're giving all the leeway to these companies to be building these buildings, right? So at what point do we stick our heads up and say, hey, we shouldn't be building this stuff. And if we're going to build it, how is this going to benefit the American people? And do we just hang our tool belts up until that time? Because that's how things used to be done. We used to hang our tool belts up until stuff was right. See you in the next one.